As a continuation of the recent redesign of the Pasuk Settings tab in the Advanced Search, we shall now go further by adding powerful new statistics to our Pasuk by Pasuk search results. One not only can view the newly available statistics, but one can sort results by each of these statistics and use each of them as criteria to filter search results. Our first sample will show search results where the words Vayedaber Hashem appear in a pasuk in that sequence, but not necessarily adjacent to each other. 119 pasukim result from the search. Now, as we hover row by row, we will see a new feature where statistics on words, letters, vowels, trup, and gematria will appear as a tooltip. One can even select those statistics to be displayed in actual result grid columns by clicking on the Statistics Columns drop-down button that appears on the lower left of the search results window. If one simply selects words and letters from the resulting pop-up, those columns will now appear to the right of the pasuk text. Selecting additional statistical columns can start to cause pasukim with long text to slip out of view. One can remedy this by dragging the horizontal slider below to the left so one can see the end of long pasukim while having the essential pasuk location columns remain in frozen view. You can now click the drop-down selector again and find the Position Near Text setting on the lower left. By default, statistics columns get displayed to the right of the pasuk text, but here one can specify that they appear to the left like so. One can also drag columns to different places and resize columns. We will leave that to the user to experiment. Be careful, since one can accidentally drag columns out of focus so that they disappear from the grid. Now, returning to the Statistics Column selector, we see how we can instantly select all columns to appear. Now we're going to shift them to the right of the pasuk text. Let's now take a moment to refresh the search and then explain each of the individual statistical columns in detail. Tevos indicates how many words are in a pasuk. Osios indicates how many letters. Osios leteva indicates how many letters per word. Osios miuchados indicates how many unique letters of the aleph base appear in the pasuk. Havchanas Sophios shows how many distinct letters appear when counting the 5 end letters as separate letters. Hofa'as Osios, a visualization indicating letter coverage, where letters appear in bold if they are present in the pasuk. Tenuos indicate how many vowels appear in the pasuk. The rule of thumb here is that a nakuda is considered a full vowel only when not a shva and not a nakuda associated with a chataf. Tenuos leteva are the average number of vowels per word. Tenuos laos are vowels per letter. Ta'amim are the total number of trup per pasuk. Ta'amim leteva are their total per word. And ta'amim letnua are the total number of trup per vowel, since vowels have more impact on trup than individual letters. Next we have gematria, which is total gematria per pasuk. Then we have gematria leteva, which is gematria per word, and then gematria laos, gematria per letter. Next we have the atbash value of the pasuk, the atbash per word, and the atbash per letter. Some might find the statistics tooltip box that appears when one hovers their mouse over a grid row to be distracting. To solve this problem, click the statistical column selector and click on the drop-down called Hover Info at the bottom. We see the default option All, indicating that all statistics should be displayed upon hover. We can also select a limited number of statistics columns, and then choose Selected Above from the drop-down so that only statistics in selected categories appear, which will make the hover box less cluttered. We can then select None in the previous drop-down so that no tooltip appears at all. In the next sections, we will move on to show how to use the new statistics for sorting search results and for using in actual search criteria. We begin by learning how to use the new feature for sorting search results. The added information is all very nice in its own right for helping one gain insights. But what does this information do for me? We start to sense the real power of all this when one selects these fields for sorting results and for using as search criteria for filtering results. As a reminder, one can click the search button even without entering any search terms. The result will be all of the Pasukim in Tanakh. If you use the safer checkboxes in the search settings or the placement tab of the advanced search setting, one can narrow down the range of Pasukim that will appear. By default, the resulting Pasukim will be listed in the natural order of their appearance in Tanakh. If you examine the search setting panel on the right side of Vesa Sefer, new controls for sorting search results appear. Let's run through a few interesting examples of how this can be used. First, a non-required step done in order to reduce confusion due to Pasukim in the Aseret HaDibros containing Tam Tachton and Tam Elyon. We open the advanced search and go to the Pasuk settings tab. Then we set maximum number of words to one less than the maximum possible. Next, let's go to our open search results and select some statistics columns that will help inform our coming sorts. This step is not required, but done to make the results of the sorting more apparent. Let's now sort the Pasukim of Tanakh by descending number of words per Pasuk. We must select words from the drop-down and then move the switch below to indicate descending order. Upon clicking the search button, we see that the top Pasuk is from Esther Ches Tes, where Mordechai's letters are sent out in order to counter the earlier letters sent out by Haman. Interesting to note that this Pasuk has the top number of letters by far. Let's now choose a sort order of ta'amim per vowel in descending order. After we click the search button, it reveals a tendency that the greater number of trup per vowel might indicate a high level of musical content which is slated for shira, such as the Pasukim we see from Mishlei, the Pasuk from Koheles from the midst of Shiras Ha'itim, and a well-known rhythmic Pasuk from Yeshaya with tzav latzav, kav lakav, and so on. Now select the sort order of descending number of unique letters. Upon searching, we will see 26 Pasukim containing all 22 letters of the Aleph base. This is recorded in the Masorah, and the phenomenon is also mentioned in various places by Rashi and by the Balaturim. One of these Pasukim, Tzvanya Gimel Ches, contains all 27 letter forms of the Hebrew language, including the 5 end letters of Menatzbach. Now let's sort by ascending Atbash value per letter to provide additional food for thought. It is interesting that the lowest Atbash per letter is the Pasuk in Mishlei Tes Zayin Yud Zayin. Mesilas Yesharim Sur Meira Shemer Nafsho Notzer Darko. Might Sur Meira associated with a low Atbash per letter represent a type of Hippuch where it instructs us to stay far away from Hippuch or Sheker. Now let's sort by descending Atbash per letter. Might the Pasuk in Divrei Hayamim of Avram hu Avraham also represent a type of Hippuch, but a Hippuch in process, where a sweeping change causes Avram to become Avraham? Incidentally, one can also sort Psukim by the time an event occurred. This is not fully accurate yet, but can give insight when keeping Divrei Yamim in line with Sefer Shmuel and Malachim. When we scroll here, we can see how there are certain psukim of Divrei Yamim that are interspersed with psukim from Sefer Bereishis. We now learn how to filter search results by using statistics as search criteria. In a previous tutorial, we discussed filtering results by a specific number of total words and total letters. Now let's continue that discussion with our newly expanded set of searchable Pasuk statistics. We now open a Baal Turim on Devarim Yud Zayin Tes regarding a Pasuk with a specific amount of unique letters. The Pasuk Hamasos Hagdolos Asher Roi Inecha contains a promise from Hashem to Klal Yisrael that the same miracles Hashem did against the Mitzrim at the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, Hashem will also perform against the nations of Canaan when Klal Yisrael enters Eretz Yisrael. The Baal HaTurim says there, Kol ha'alfa beita bazeh ha'pasuk chutz mi beis, remez ki od yaseh pam shenis niflaos ki meitzeischa me'eretz Yisrael. That the fact that all the letters of the Aleph base appear in this Pasuk, except for the letter base, hints to the fact that Hashem will repeat the miracles again when they arrive in Eretz Yisrael. Now let's test out that Baal HaTurim by searching for a Pasuk containing all the letters of the Aleph base except for the letter base. In the Pasuk Settings tab of the Advanced Search, we slide the minimum and maximum slider buttons to exactly 21 for unique letters per Pasuk. 22 unique letters would indicate the entire Aleph base. Then, in the section above for letters to exclude, select only the letter base. When we click the search button, we will see only one Pasuk in the entire Tanakh that matches these criteria, the Pasuk indicated by the Baal HaTurim. Let's clear the search settings for this page and finish up with something interesting that I noticed a year and a half ago on Hanukkah. In the setting Gematria per Pasuk, carefully slide and adjust the minimum and maximum slider button of Gematria per Pasuk to exactly 1000. Now, let's find all psukim in Tanakh having that total gematria. This reveals a set of only 5 psukim. In reality, it's 4, since the first pasuk mistakenly double counts Kri and Ksiv words. We will remove that. If one looks closely, it's extremely interesting that 3 out of the 4 psukim that add up to 1000 are recited every morning of Hanukkah. 2 identical psukim of Hallel of Nidarai L'Hashem HaShalem Negrana L'Chol Amo, and the pasuk from the Shir Shel Yom of Hanukkah in Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habayis LaDavid, Eilecha Hashem Ekra Ve'el Ad Hashem Eschanan. I have noticed some Hanukkah tie-ins on my own among these 2 locations in Hallel and Mizmor Shir, but that's for another time and possibly a future post on the Beis HaSefer blog. If you have your own thoughts, please contact me at the email address listed at the end of this video. I hope this tutorial has been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know at info@tryaganalytics.com.